Hello and welcome to another episode in the capture part of the texture series. In this episode I want to just give you an idea of what I have done to get exactly the effect that I wanted to have. First of all, we talk here about polarization, and that means we have here a polarization filter in front of the lens, and the polarization filter is normally a filter that you can turn. We have two different flavors of it, a linear one and a circular one. And you need to know which one is the best for your camera, because some of the linear polarization filter will throw your exposure sensor off. So you will not get really a good reading when you measure the light through a polarization filter that doesn't fit your camera. That's the first very important tip. And it should be turnable. That means you have to have access to your front element in the lens, so you can rotate this. A matte box or something like that wouldn't be the best idea. Of course, when you have a matte box in front, maybe the polarization filter goes there. When we shoot for polarization effects, that means when we want to separate the reflective material from the dull material to create a reflection map, then we need to do something that is exactly in the opposite that we normally try to do. Because normally when we want to shoot a surface like this here, we try to avoid any reflection in the reflective surface. This is the first mandatory thing when we want to have a texture. But here we do exactly this. We try to catch as much as light possible in our reflector, and again that can be just a white very reflective surface or a metallic one, and if needed, if we don't have enough light here, we should have a diffuser here between that white silk, so when light goes here very straight, that we have this soft light coming here from all over the place and we get a nice light here. And the white surface is normally also a very nice idea to have that in the reflective surface. Again, we talk here especially for the purpose of creating a reflective map. It's not about to get the texture in the best way here in this episode. When we have now inside of each and every tile here a wonderful reflection from this one, but in the concrete here between the tiles no reflection whatsoever, just a good light, then we have our first shot already. So the camera of course can't have a long one in this situation, because we would go up and up and up, or we just flip the table here, but of course that's not always possible. So the idea here is we shoot exactly this, where we have a lot of reflection and every tile has here just pure light in it instead of anything that has a texture. When we have done the first shot, and probably with many exposures, so we have certainty that we really caught every single bit of the light inside, then we rotate the polarization filter roughly around 90 degrees, which should work fine. And I say roughly because in this case here with a flat surface we have maybe no big problem, but in a moment we have something banded or organically shaped, then we have the need maybe to do a little bit more than one shot, because polarization and surface direction is somehow related to each other. If we found then the right spot to have no reflections in it, but we leave the reflector of course in the way it is, because we want to have the gray area exactly as it was before, then we take another shot. And again, the camera should be stable. That is why I use here these fat material or gear here, because any shake, any micro vibration even, will turn this effect into a nightmare of course, and we have to deal with a lot of work in post, which finally means we have shattered pixels. And even if you can repair this with some new tricks in Photoshop, this is never a good idea. Get it right in the first place, and the deconvolution process that I have in my plugin collection since a while is now in Photoshop CC, and of course it does a relatively good job. It tries to evaluate what the shake was and subtract then exactly this. That is of course a mathematical problem, and with everything in image and mathematical, it is never clear, was this colorization now from a shake or was it in a picture or whatever. It's never a very nice thing to have to repair something. Get it right in the first place and forgot everything else. It's easier said than done, I know that. Okay, that was my little safety note here. When we have these two pictures, we can practically stop already and we can go to work and try to find out how we get the difference from both, and then we are fine and off. Of course, is that ideal to shoot here not directly in 90 degrees to it? Right, that's not the best case scenario, and I have to say it, but I found that this setup here explains it in the best way. And of course I could have done here with a C-stand the camera exactly on top of that and find maybe something that gives me a reflection directly over the camera, and maybe with 2 or 3 shots then with different reflectors I would have gotten here the shadow away and so on. Not the best scenario. It's always a creative process to find the right solution for that. I can't tell you anything that would fit to all problems here in such cases. So call me lazy or what, I have used here just a 5D to get the footage here. I haven't swapped it out with a real camera, and I apologize for the quality here, but I think it's for the demonstration purposes only. And you can see here when I rotate the polarization filter, you can see that the gray values stay pretty much where they are and all tiles are changing. And when we find the sweet spot of that little polarization filter, then we have something that we can use to our advantage, because then we have a difference for the reflective part and we have hopefully nearly or no reflection change here of the dull part. Yes, there's always a little bit reflective in it, even if it is completely scattered, but it submits light to the camera, and that will not stop until we have maybe everything black, of course. It's all about reflection. It's not like a mirror here. That's more the tiles here. So this was just a little refresher, and you might think I repeat everything here, but the first part was theoretical, the second part is the practical, the capture part, and in part 3 we go to work just in post. That means just software based. As I mentioned when we started, this will be only a short one, because in the next episode I want to talk a little bit more about polarization filter, and I will use a way more advanced setup for this, and so we have lots to talk about there, so I try to keep it short here. Thanks for listening, have fun with it, bye bye.